In 1735, a German philosopher named Alexander Baumgarten invented a word for something humans had been doing for 40,000 years. He called it aesthetica, and he meant it as a way of knowing, a mode of perception, a philosophy of how the senses make meaning. 290 years later, a teenager on TikTok points a camera at a latte and says, "That's so aesthetic." Same word, completely different species. And the distance between those two uses is not linguistic drift. It is the sound of a word being hollowed out until there is nothing left inside it. Welcome to the Threads of Culture, a show that unpacks the evolving landscape of design, branding, and the cultural forces shaping the global stage. The Fandom Aesthetics Wiki currently catalogs over 600 named aesthetics: dark academia, cottagecore, coquette, clean girl, mob wife, old money, Barbiecore. 600 entries and counting. When a taxonomy gets that granular, it is no longer organizing meaning, it is burying it. And the burial tells us something important, not about language, but about what happens when identity becomes indistinguishable from appearance. Today, how the collapse of a single word reveals that an entire generation is losing faith in curation as a substitute for belonging. Here is where we are going. First, how aesthetic lived and evolved for nearly 3 centuries before it was gutted. Then, how brands turned the hollowed-out shell into a commercial engine. And finally, what is replacing it, and why the replacement cannot be named without repeating the same mistake. The word aesthetic lived a quiet, productive life for most of its history. Baumgarten used it to talk about sensory knowledge. Kant picked it up to explore the nature of beauty and judgment. Modernist designers inherited it as a framework for understanding why form and function needed each other. In every iteration, the word added a layer. It moved from perception to beauty to taste to design philosophy, and each move made the concept richer. Then Tumblr got hold of it. Around 2012, users began tagging images with grunge aesthetic, and something irreversible happened. Grunge had been a subculture rooted in a specific geography, a specific class experience, a specific sound. Seattle, working-class frustration, Nirvana, Mudhoney, flannel shirts worn because they were cheap, not because they signaled anything. When Tumblr extracted the visual codes and discarded everything else, the flannels, the washed-out photography, the Doc Martens survived. But the music, the politics, the place, the rage all vanished. What remained was a mood board. And that mood board became the template for every aesthetic that followed. Subculture becomes visual code. Visual code becomes label. Label becomes consumer category. The architecture was set, and the speed only increased. By the time TikTok took over, the cycle had compressed from years to weeks. Mob wife aesthetic emerged, saturated, and collapsed into backlash in under a month. The platform's algorithm does not reward depth, it rewards novelty. And when novelty is the only metric, every aesthetic becomes a disposable container, something you try on for a content cycle and discard before it can mean anything. Colin Martindale, a psychologist who studied aesthetic traditions, proposed in 1990 that every style system eventually exhausts itself through escalating novelty. Styles get more extreme, more arousing, more strange, until the whole system collapses and resets. He was describing centuries of art history. TikTok accomplished the same entropy in a decade. But speed alone did not kill the word. Commerce did. The aesthetic era's real product was not self-expression. It was a sorting mechanism for consumer behavior. When Hailey Bieber launched Rhode Skincare in 2022, she was not selling moisturizer. She was closing a loop. Celebrity establishes visual identity. That identity gets named Clean Girl. The name generates tutorials, which are functionally advertisements for the same 6 products. The products sustain the aesthetic, which sustains the celebrity, which sustains the products. A perfectly sealed commercial circuit. Nothing inside it resembles culture. No community forms around it. No knowledge is produced. No one is changed by it. You cannot be a clean girl in any meaningful sense. You can only buy the appearance of being one. Branding strategists have started saying the quiet part out loud. Counterstatement, a brand consultancy, published a framework drawing a hard line. Aesthetic belongs to the realm of appearance. Identity belongs to the realm of being. The distinction matters because companies keep making the same mistake individuals do. Gap changed its logo in 2010 and triggered immediate backlash. Tropicana redesigned its packaging in 2009 and lost millions. JCPenney overhauled its entire retail aesthetic in 2012 and nearly destroyed the company. In every case, the error was identical. They changed how they looked without changing or even understanding what they meant. Aesthetic without identity is a trap, and it works on people and corporations with equal efficiency. The deeper reveal is what the aesthetic era was actually selling. Not beauty, not taste, not even products. It was selling legibility. In a platform economy where you are your feed, where your visual output is your social resume, the word aesthetic gave people a shortcut to coherence. You did not need to explain who you were. You just named your aesthetic and the algorithm, and everyone in it could read you instantly. Dark academia meant intellectual. Old money meant refined. Cottagecore meant gentle. These were not identities. They were compression files. And like all compression, they worked by throwing information away. What got discarded was participation. You could be dark academia without reading a single book. You could be cottagecore without growing a single plant. You could be grunge without hearing a single chord. The aesthetic era made identity purely visual and purely consumable. Earlier subcultures, mods, punks, goths, those demanded you show up. Go to the shows, make the zines, occupy physical space, risk something. The aesthetic era removed the risk and kept the costume. The rejection is now happening faster than the adoption did. Culture writers like Anita Bhagwandas are calling the word a dead letter, framing the entire aesthetic era as inherently conservative. A system that, in her words, prioritizes looking like something over actually being a part of something. Even the grammar tells the story. NPR noted in December 2025 that the word had completed its grammatical collapse, moving from noun to adjective to pure exclamation, used by everyone from TikTok creators to the President of the United States describing Navy warship designs. When a philosophical concept becomes a presidential adjective, it has been fully emptied. So what replaces it? This is where the argument gets honest, because the answer is not a word. There is no clean successor. The shift is structural. You can see it in the rise of craft content on TikTok, where the flex is no longer having taste, but having capability. In the repair culture movement, where showing what you made with your hands carries more social weight than showing what you bought with your card. In the slow migration from, what does my feed look like, to, what communities am I actually part of? The replacement for curation is participation. The replacement for aesthetic is context. Instead of asking, what's the vibe? The emerging question is, where does this come from? Who made it? And what does it mean? But here is what complicates the argument. Access is real. The aesthetic era, for all its shallowness, gave millions of people a visual vocabulary they did not previously have. Not everyone grows up in a household where taste is inherited or culture is ambient. For a teenager in a town with no gallery, no bookstore, no music venue, Tumblr's aesthetic taxonomy was a genuine doorway. The wiki's 600 entries might represent exhaustion, but they also represent 600 invitations that did not exist before. The democracy of surfaces and the depth of meaning are in genuine tension, and anyone who dismisses the former entirely has forgotten what it feels like to find your first visual language in a place no one handed to you. Baumgarten invented the word aesthetic to describe how the senses make meaning. Not how they make images, not how they make content, how they make meaning. The word is dying because it stopped doing the only job it was designed to do. And what comes next will not be named quickly because the naming is part of what broke it. 600 labels on a wiki, and not one of them can tell you who you are when you close the app. So here is what I want to know. What is the last aesthetic you called yours? And did you participate in the thing it came from, or did you just look like someone who did? I already know the answer. I just want to hear you say it. If this changed how you hear that word, it will do the same for someone still scrolling through labels looking for one that fits. Until next time, this has been the Threads of Culture.